Hello and welcome to another one of these contact centre panel YouTube broadcasts with myself, Nathan Dring. If you don't know who I am, then there is a bio video somewhere in amongst this library of content that you can take a look at. So today, what is it we're going to be chatting about? Well, the title is Bringing Your Child to Work. Now, in real terms, I've never done that. I've never gone to a place of work and taken my kid with me. But you might be like me at the moment where I'm working at home and there are kids about. And so there's that juggle to manage. One of the reasons I like this room that I'm in at the moment is by the end of the day, there's no trace of any kids in here. Toys are gone, books are gone, everything's tidied away. And it feels like a bit of an adult space. And I quite like coming in here as well because it's not underneath anyone else's room. So I can't hear kids, can't see kids. It's not to say that I don't want to be a dad. What it means is actually I like that moment in time and that moment in my head when I'm not being a parent. Because if you've ever done that, if you are a parent, and you'll find that actually just constantly parenting, whilst some great fun moments can also be pretty tiring, can also be, exhausting. So it's great to have moments where you can just go, I'm not having to parent anybody here. So why am I talking about this? Because you might be listening thinking, thanks Nathan, I've not got kids, so none of this matters to me. Thank you very much. But just before you pause or delete or go, just listen on a little bit longer because I want to chat about it, not from a biological point of view, but from a psychological point of view. I want to chat about this thing called transactional analysis. And transactional analysis tells us that at any given time, we operate in one of three modes. We are parent, adult, or child. Parent, adult, child. And we move between these different states depending on how we're feeling and what we're doing, because transactional analysis tells us that actually the state we're in will dictate our behaviours and our attitudes, our responses and our reactions to other people, what we do, what we say, how we go. So an example of how we might maybe move between these. A few years back, I was looking at getting a new car. So I went to the garage and saw all the cool, sleek, sporty, expensive cars that I really like the look of. And I was buzzing with excitement. I was giddy. You've heard the phrase sometimes, like a kid in a sweet shop. And that's how I was. Why? Because, I'd become a kid. I dropped into my child state and was dead excited looking at all these cool cars. And then parent mode kicked in. And parent mode went, well, hang on a minute, Nathan, that's not really a practical car for now. It's not the right car for now. And actually, that's not a car you can afford right now. And then I felt a little bit disappointed, like a slightly stroppy kid who had just been told they couldn't have what they wanted. And then, thankfully, adult mode kicked in. And adult mode kind of goes, yeah, that's pretty rational, actually, that makes sense. We can't afford it right now. This isn't the right car for now. So let's leave it. And as an adult, walked away, happy I'd made the right decision. Then later that evening, dropped back into child mode as I was grumpy and stroppy because I couldn't have the car that I wanted, that I really wanted. Do you see how it works? I just moved between those different states. Not I chose to move around them, but just triggers, certain events happening, and my kind of human nature kicked in and I became one of those things. Parent, adult, child. And this is what transactional analysis is about. Whereabouts are we in any of those three states? Because if we get the state right, then what that can start to do is drive autonomy, which is great. Not independence, not I don't need you, but autonomy, whereby I can work really well, but with a dependence. Some decision making of my own and with a dependence. And if you watch the last video, or one of the last videos, we talk about how autonomy is a great and very important intrinsic motivator. And transactional analysis, when we get it right, brings about more autonomy. Really interesting example of when I got it very wrong was when I was running a training session. And I noticed, it was with quite a senior team of an organisation. And I noticed that the CEO was writing notes to people and passing them around and giggling. It seemed very out of character. And at first I was irritated, and then I thought, hang on a minute, that's on me. What I've done is I've set myself up as the parent in the room. That's me up here. And by being parent, they've responded and gone child. So I've stood up and spoken to them like a parent would do, maybe a little bit more patronising, perhaps even condescending or controlling. And they've gone, right, if you're going to be like parent, guess what? I'll be like kid and I'll mess around. And so what I had to do then was adjust me from parent into adult so that they would go from child into adult. And in that sweet spot, adult interaction, that was where you get some great conversations. In a work term, that's where you get great productivity, logical decisions, people engaged in the now and working really, really well. As we keep saying, all of these thriving in that adult. So what I'd like you to just have a bit of a think about is how you, either as a member of a team or as a team leader at this moment, how do you communicate and how do you set yourself up? Might even be, how do you see yourself? So you might see yourself as, well, I'm the parent here, so I've got to look after my team, my kids. Maybe in doing so, out of a genuine care, you actually come across as, I don't know, dare I say it, a little bit patronising or maybe even a little bit controlling. And so they respond to that by going, well, if you're going to be parent, I'll be kid. And they'll maybe be a little bit more dependent, need a little bit more spoon feeding, maybe a little bit more stroppy. And in doing so, fuels your belief, aha, yes, this is right. I need to be the parent because look at these kids. And at the same time, they're going, well, I might as well be a kid because look at that parent. And you end up in this cycle. But where you really get the sweet spot, as I said, is when you get adult. When you get adults working together. And we're all adults. But how can we therefore get into an adult state where our attitudes, our beliefs, our way of working is adult, where you get best productivity, real thriving, great communication, logical decisions, present in the now, doing the right thing. So I'd like you to have a bit of a think about that. Is your approach to work, and this isn't a leader thing or team member thing, this is an individual, pause on it, think a moment, look back on your last week and go, what mode was I in? At what point in the last few days have I been a bit like a child? Think of this in the work context perhaps, and make a note of that and think, well, what else was going on? Because if I'd gone child, who had gone parent? Or at what stage of my working week gone by was I parent? And if I was being a parent, what was that triggering other people? Did I see people being more childlike? Or whereabouts was I able to get that sweet spot? Adult. Great interactions, working together, healthy conversations, productivity, and as this whole thing is all about, thriving as a home worker. So have a bit of a look back, have a bit of a reflect, have a bit of a pause, get a coffee, make a note of it, have a bit of a think. Maybe even think about trigger moments in the week, key things that happened in the week, what was going on, and whereabouts were you? Parent, adult, or child? And as I keep saying, where you really want to be, so you can thrive as a home worker. Adult interactions with you, with your boss, with your team, with your customers, to give great customer services and really be the very best you can. So if you're watching this as it's gone out live, have a great weekend. If you're watching it at some point after the fact, I hope you had a great weekend, and I'll be back soon with a few more thoughts for you in the coming days. So stay safe, take care.